driving change in the transportation industry. I'm Rick Knapp. I'm a 29-year-old entrepreneur. This is my first startup. I'm unlike every other startup guy in the world, or girl. I'm a little older than you all are. So I brought some young guys with me. Brady Arthur, who is our operations manager. Brendan Tompkins, who's our chief technical officer. And our legal attorney, in case I get in trouble, Nat Pierce. He's gonna put the hook on me, pull me off the stage if I say something wrong. I used to tell my son's class at Maury High School, if you live in this area and you're not doing something associated with the water and ships and transportation, then you probably ought to move somewhere else. And so I would encourage you, whatever you're doing out there in your daily activity, that somehow or another you figure out how it touches the water, because that's what we're all about here. I spent 35 years in the maritime industry, managing marine terminals in Norfolk, Portsmouth, and in Newport News, and retired as the chief operating officer. I discovered some things back when I was working about some inefficiencies in the transportation system, and that's what we're going to talk to you about tonight. Quick180. We are the Uber of the container business. I meant to have my prop here with me because I got Uber on my cell phone. If you're not familiar with Uber, there's a little icon that you can put on your iPhone or whatever phone you have, and push that button, and it will tell you where a driver is and how long it will take him to get to where you are. So by hitting that button, first off, you know you need a driver to take you somewhere. Number two, you know where you are, and that message is being sent to that driver, and you know that he's 7 minutes away. And that's what we're doing in the container business. We are the Uber of the container business. When an export customer of ours needs an empty container, we deliver it to his door. You might say, well, gosh, that seems rather rudimentary. Why weren't you doing that before? It's because the customs and practices in the industry were entirely different, and we will explain to you as we go through tonight how the system works now, and how we are revolutionizing this system, how we are disruptive to the way business is currently being done, and how we intend to do it better. This is the way not to do it. Now, in case some of you have lived around this water and who may not be boaters, this picture's worth 1,000 words. This is not the way you do it. Next.
So, as Rick said, the existing customs and practices for handling this empty container, or this container, are go back to the 70s when containerization first was introduced. And basically what happens is when this container enters the port, so it gets filled with goods in China destined for the store shelves here in the United States, comes into the port of Virginia, right? And it ends up 250 miles away at an inland distribution center at, for example, a big box importer like Target. Well, before that happens, it then gets trucked all the way back to the port, 250 miles empty. Meanwhile, at the very same moment in time, often, there's an exporter in the same region that we call the hinterland, maybe 20 miles away, who needs this empty container that fits this exact size, height, type, and steamship line specifications to bring back, guess where, to the same port to be exported out of this country. So you can see that there's 250 miles each way, 500 miles of wasted trips carrying this big, heavy piece of steel around, congesting our highways, costing valuable trucker time and gate moves in the terminal. And I did a little research, and I can only find one person in the history of the world that was excited about traveling 500 miles that he didn't have to travel, And it's this guy.
You can tell we haven't rehearsed this at all.
Remember this guy? So he's pretty excited about going 500 miles, but most everybody else in the world isn't. So this is the right way to do it. Import container leaves the Port of Virginia, ends up at Consignee, big box importer, where it's stripped of its cargo. It's then an empty container, and it becomes inventory in our system. We do a bunch of fancy matching, and we find that there's an exporter that needs this container, and we take it from the importer and we transfer it to the exporter, and then it travels back to the port and leaves the country as an export. So we've eliminated the 2 wasted trips. It's hugely beneficial to the entire industry, from truckers to the port to everybody in between. And Rick will go into a little bit more about all the benefits of the system in a minute. But go ahead and go to the next screen. So how do we do this? We've got a state-of-the-art website. We are all the good buzzwords here. We're cloud hosted. We're an agile software development company. We've been developing software in the port domain for about 10 years. And so we know how to do this kind of thing really well. We have a great social network through email, through SMS, text messaging, and through social media, places like Facebook, LinkedIn, where we are actually in contact with the folks that have these containers, whether that's the importer, trucker, the export trucker, or the actual drivers themselves. We actually have the drivers connected to our system using their cell phones. We've got a lot of data. We know almost everything there is to know about this container. We know where it is, we know what's in it, we know where it's going, and we use that data to our advantage to match up the two parties, because we know who needs the empty and we know who has it. And also, at the end of the day, I always say that the biggest thing we do is we make this entire process official, because you just can't, because of some practices in the intermodal industry, you just can't take a container from an importer and transfer it to an exporter without making this official. And this is what we do through a variety of different ways. So people who use our system know that if they've gotten a container, it's now officially under their care and custody, and it's officially also care and custody of the importer that had the container. So I'm going to turn it back over to Rick. He's going to talk a little bit about traction we've had so far.
Okay, I hope you all understand the way the industry works in kind of a general way. You can think about it this way: when you're driving down I-64 or you're driving out Route 58 to Emporia and beyond, every other container that you see passing you is empty. Okay? And that's what we're trying to eliminate. Millions, tens of millions of road miles of empty container movements in the state of Virginia. Thousands of transactions a day at the congested port of Virginia. More efficient movement of containers for truck drivers. Truck drivers make more money working in the Quick180 system because we arrange for them to have backhauls. Everybody that is attached to the Quick180 system that works with us is a winner. There are no losers. We charge a transaction-based fee, and we purposely arranged it that way because we don't want to participate in the savings that are brought about in the transportation of goods. We only want to be a subscription, like buying the newspaper every morning. We want you to buy it because it's got information that we need, and we're cheap. We're $13 a transaction. If an exporter puts in a request for an empty container, he does so free of charge. We only charge if we deliver the empty container to his door. So an exporter makes a decision about whether or not this is a good move. If he can save 250, 300, 500 miles of transportation costs, is it worth $13? Well, I can assure you that it is. It's worth a heck of a lot more than $13. So we priced it so that we would be an incidental cost, like buying a stamp, like buying a newspaper for a company. We want to bring value to the industry. We make our money by large volume on a small rate, and that's our business plan. We've gained a lot of traction since we started in January of 2014. We first started by trying to attract the interest of the steamship lines. There are roughly 26 steamship lines that call in the Port of Virginia, and basically 26 steamship lines that call in the United States of America in the international container business. I had an enormous Rolodex of contacts over 35 years in the business. So I knew who the contacts were, and I spent the first 6 months or so arranging for cooperation with the steamship lines. Brady came on board, started working with the motor carriers, educating the motor carriers on what we do and how our system works. Brendan was developing the software. We have another fellow, Mark Wilder, who spent 35 years as a terminal manager of a major marine terminal here in Hampton Roads, and he is about calling on the beneficial cargo owners, the exporters. We now have 13 of the 26 steamship lines on board. We actually represent about 80% of all of the export freight in the Port of Virginia right now in the Quick180 system. We have 70 motor carriers that are signed up in the system. We've got successful business relationship with them, and we're moving forward. We're moving to Savannah at the end of March. We have a representative on the West Coast who is attempting to try to assess what we need to do to get started in the Port of LA Long Beach. And if you've been reading the newspapers here recently or watching the news, they have huge problems out there with congestion. Quick180 solves those problems. So we've been invited to come to Montreal, and all this stuff has happened in the course of 1 year. And I can tell you, you hang your shingle out there, and sooner or later somebody's going to call you and want to do some business with you. What we like to say is, you want to be the lead dog in the dog sled because they smell the freshest air. The lead dog smells the freshest air. And so that's what we go to the customers with. You want to be first or you want to be last. But you're going to be with us on the team sooner or later because you can't not be. We are the only competitor in this industry. We intend to keep it that way. We're not going to let any other software developers come in, might be sitting in this audience picking up all this information saying, I think I can do it better. Well, what we're saying to anybody who comes along is we are the only sled driver, and we're going to penetrate the market. We're going to be throughout the United States. I got a call this morning from Copenhagen, largest steamship line in the world. Representative called me this morning, wants to know whether or not we can collaborate with them worldwide. This started in January of 2014. So it is possible, it can be done, and
I was just going to mention when we talk about the competition in the space, it's really, of course, we want to be the only players, but we're almost in a situation where it's like a good social network. If there were two LinkedIns, if there was two Facebooks, it would confuse the market, right? I mean, you'd say, which Facebook are you on? I'm on this one or that one. It's a network, so we need everybody on the same network. So, you know, we're also confident that we're doing this in a unique way that other folks aren't doing it, and this is we have a lot of experience. I don't think you, Rick, talked about this. Rick retired from Chief Operating Officer at the Port of Virginia, Virginia International Terminals, which is now been brought into the Port of Virginia. But with 39 years, or excuse me, 29 years in the work here.
Neither, 35.
35, okay. I've been saying 20.
That's how old I am.
That's right. Mark Wilder, who's another one of our sales folks, ran PMT over here on the other side of the water, right in Portsmouth. Brady is a graduate of the Logistics Institute over here at OU. And I've been working in the port vertical, so to speak, for about 10 years, writing software that's used all over in and outside of the ports. So we know the business really well. We've got a lot. This is this old guy thinking about containers. We're old guys and we've been thinking about containers for a long time. So
I think that's a picture of me before I shaved. So that's our pitch. That's what we're doing. Watch out for us. We've had a couple of articles written in the Inside Business and the local paper. We're here to stay. We're going to be nationwide, and we're going to be doing well for the folks here in Virginia and all of our employees. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions?